So many things go unspoken.
But now is the time to speak truth to those conversations so we can finally address trauma and awaken healing.
I'm C Lane, an entrepreneur, sound designer, composer, and truth seeker.
And my name is Brody, artist, educator, and content creator. Welcome to Open Canvas. Let's paint.
What it do, what it be, what it is, what it is.
What's happening?
What's up, everybody? What's up, Miss Brody? How you feeling? How you feeling on this beautiful Monday in February? First Monday in February.
I feel pretty.
You look pretty.
Thank you. We're trying out a look, aka I did not feel like putting on my do-rag today. So can't have the hair looking messy. So I borrowed one of my wigs.
Come on.
I can't borrow one of my wigs. But anywho, I'm wearing one of my wigs today.
I love it.
You know what? I'm fucking with it, you know?
Come on with it.
I'm fucking with it.
So everybody, thank you so much for joining in. For those who are already tuned in, for those who are tuning in
Right.
or listening to us.
Right.
We're gonna get into it. I mean, this topic today is probably gonna be a hot topic, but it is titled Lust versus Love. So Brody, just start us off. Why in the world is this an important topic? What are we about to get into?
You know, C-Lane, I'm glad you asked that question. Well, all jokes aside, I think it's important for us to identify the differences between the two, because sometimes we can find ourselves in a situation or a situationship, as the kids say it, thinking it's one thing when in reality it's another. I mean, indeed. So we just like jump right into it.
Let's jump. Go ahead and lead the jump.
Bro, I look like Velma with this wig on.
Come on, Velma, wear your glasses.
Like a sexy black gender fluid Velma.
Okay, come on.
I roll with it. Okay. All right. So the topic of the conversation is love versus lust. So I always like to start with definitions, as we know. So definition of love. Let's talk about it. So there's multiple definitions if you look into the Oxford Dictionary. The first one is an intense feeling of deep affection. Fair, pretty, valid, just right there.
Okay.
Second definition says a great interest and pleasure in something.
So basic. Okay.
I mean, listen.
Basic.
Oxford can be that basic girl sometimes. So that is what we know for love. For lust, if you think that was basic, wait till you hear lust. I'm gonna show you what I'm gonna tell you what Oxford said. Very strong sexual desire. Done.
Nice.
Well, so C. Laniford. Is it okay if I call you C. Laniford?
Great. Everybody calls me that.
Okay. Well, C. Laniford. You seem so underwhelmed by the definitions.
Yeah.
So, maybe enlighten me. Maybe this could be a perfect time for us as individuals to come up with our own definition of love and lust. So, do you have a desired definition for one of the two or both?
Okay. These are words that we come into contact with all the time, but I feel like we may not have our own definitions. So I'm gonna come up with one on the spot based on what I feel it is.
Well, all right now.
Let's start with lust, because I feel like that might be a little bit easier for me to define because of Scorpio nature. Okay.
To know that so.
Lust to me is over
Wow.
Lust for me is indulgence
Okay.
into a specific quality that is not holistic. Indulgence into a specific quality of a person that is not fully holistic.
That's lust.
Yes.
Okay. Cool.
So for example, right? Super example, like, my goodness, I can't stop thinking about your eyes, right? Indulgence. It's indulgence. It's one particular part. Or my goodness, your body. I can't stop thinking about it. Lust, right? It's the origin.
Mm-hmm.
Now, love, I would say is holistic. Holistic? Yeah. I feel like love to be holistic. It incorporates many things about said person, and we're talking about people here, right? We can also expand that conversation, but if we're talking about people, it includes many things about that person that you are not indulging in, but you actually have a depth of heart, mind, and soul.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I got. That's what I got. That's what I got,
Listen,
y'all. What y'all feel about that?
more than what I got. Cause
All right, now what you got?
honestly, so uh my my definition of lust is if my knee-jerk reaction is to fuck it, it's lust. And I say that like even I know it's gonna sound weird, but I even say that like with food, because I'm gonna fuck up some food. I'm very much so in lust with food. I'm in lust with certain men that I find attractive. So like I think for me, the definition of lust that they put in the Oxford is pretty spot on. At least I would say I also fall in line with that definition. Now, love, when I tell you love is so I'm still trying to define what love is for me. Not that I don't I guess like I'm aware of love, I acknowledge love, I love what the feeling that I get from people that love me and I love back. I guess what it is, I'm trying to still define what love is to me, because I don't think that love is kind of one of those things that I have a tier system with, because genuinely I do have a love for, I mean, pretty much any life form on earth. Like I genuinely love to see things thriving. I love to see something just living in its element, being free, not being bothered. Love that for them. But I guess if we're talking about more on a personal level, when like I guess like everything about significant others, who I mean, I guess you have to say, come back to me. And maybe I have an update later on this season.
Okay.
But like as of right now, we are still trying to define how does love fit in the realm of Brody. Like we're still trying to find, how do we classify it? I mean, like I know I love people. I know I love my family. I know I love friends and other significant people in my life. But also, like I have a genuine love for children. Like I like anytime I ever see a child just hanging out or like playing out in the playground or whatever, I like, it warms my heart to see kids just enjoying themselves. And like I think just in general, we have a natural love for children just because of like what they represent. So I am still trying to figure out that definition for myself.
Well, I think you said more than you think you did, right? I mean, for lust, you mentioned if I could paraphrase what you
Please
mentioned,
do. I do it all the time.
you pretty much said like there's a desire to consume, right? There's a desire to like want it. Whereas with love, it doesn't sound like there's a desire to consume, but an intent to see something thrive. And that is super that's a super contrast, because it's like it's not self it's not self-pleasing, right? The lust, based on what you said, and even what I'm saying as well, it sounds like the lust is more self-pleasing, like I want this, my goodness, yes.
Oh yeah.
Whereas for you, that love seems to like, wow, I really want this thing, whether it's a child, a person, an animal, I want to see it thrive. It warms my heart that this entity, this being, this spirit, this soul is thriving. And I think that's super cool. I think that's super dope.
When I tell you, C-Lane, you could not be more accurate. I mean, like, that's spot on. Like, it really is, though.
Yeah.
Like,
and for anybody that's out there listening, please know how you would define love and lust. Like, literally take a minute, drop it in the chat if you want to, but tell yourselves. If you don't tell us, tell yourselves. What is the difference? Because, Brody, I do feel without a definition, without a personal definition, how can we check ourselves when we're doing one or the other?
How can we check ourselves?
Right. Because would you say it is important to know the difference?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. Why? You said what?
Why? Why is it important to know the difference?
Such a question that can't be answered so quickly. But to try to wrap it up as much as possible, the reason why I think it's important to know the difference, because the line between the two can get muddy if you don't know the difference. And sometimes when we act in lust, it may be received in love, and vice versa. And
okay. I'll let you finish, but I'm gonna need a personal story with that. It sounds like there's one behind it.
I mean, I feel like we all had a situation where, like, okay, you ever have a moment or like see a TV show where someone is into a person far more than the other person is into them?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think like a lot of times that happen is because there are behaviors that we affiliate with some of these things. Like, if you can recall back, like, I think one of our very earlier episodes, we were talking about how people perceive sex and how people see sex as something that is very deeply romantic and connected, and they can't see themselves just having sex with someone just to say they're having sex. And there are some people who can have sex and it's like, oh man, I appreciate it, but to them it was just something that two people enjoyed. Like, we had lunch together, but the lunch doesn't necessarily have to be anything of significance. We both just have to eat. Just like those two people are like, the sex doesn't be necessarily anything significant. We both are horny and we want to satisfy our physical desires. And so I say that to say because a lot of times I think sex is a perfect one where people affiliate sexual activity with a gesture of love. And we see that sometimes when people see that as a gesture of love, there are people who just see that as, I just wanted to get that out the way,
Yeah.
And you just seem to be the cool person to do that with. So,
and people could be on totally different sides, doing the same act, but
different
two completely
sides.
different.
Two different sides.
Woo! Yeah.
So I think that's why I think it's really important to know the difference between the two. Which, I mean, Because it's weird. It's like one of those things where you don't necessarily want to complicate things, but communication is important. And if you don't have that communication to know if you're on the same page, then that's how someone find themselves in a situation, in a falling in love with a lustful situation. So
yeah, no, that's really good. And it's got me thinking of personal experiences too. I mean, okay, so this is not the Zodiac segment yet, but
you're fine. Yeah.
If anybody looks at my chart, you will see tons and tons and tons of Scorpio energy. Now, if anybody knows anything about Scorpios,
absolutely voice.
The Scorpio energy just took it out of me. If anybody knows anything about Scorpios, the sign naturally can be very lustful. Why? Because Scorpios, now we might have to add a layer to the definition of lust.
Let's do it.
Because Scorpios, by nature, crave depth, right? Now, in that craving of depth, from a societal level, it can look very lustful because Scorpios, out of any sign in the zodiac, could see a random stranger and have 10 to 20 different thoughts about what could happen with that stranger. Don't know them. You don't love them because you don't fully know them. But it is like a, wow, this person, this energy, yes, right? It falls into the category of the definitions we've given lust so far. But what's the line? Is there a line between lust and impulsive depth? Do you understand what I mean by that?
How is depth impulsive? Because you can't instantly gain depth.
Correct. But can't you lust over that? Like the lust to unpack a person, the lust to
you can have a desire.
Oh, so a desire is different than lust. Come on now, Brody. What you do?
Not all desire. I think lust is a type of desire. Ooh, I think it falls under the umbrella. Now, you can be intrigued or enamored with a person to the point where you want to inquire more, for sure. I don't. Well, And see, this is what I was talking about, going back to my initial thing about like trying to define love, because I genuinely, since I do have a I'll say I have like a standard set love for everyone. I genuinely wish the best for everyone. And I do like to inquire about people, but I don't think I have to have that happen. Like everybody that walks by, what did you eat for lunch? I don't need to know that. I don't care.
Sure.
But if there's someone that I've met and then I immediately want to inquire more, sure, but I can also acknowledge my inquiries are inspired by lust. Because if there's somebody, like for an example, let's just say we're on a dating app.
Okay.
I will most likely try to inquire about an individual that I'm attracted to, that I'm like, damn, he fine, or damn, he this or he that. So there is still lust involved because I don't know this person. I don't know them at all.
Yeah.
So I do still feel like there is a lust aspect. It's mainly a lustful scenario. Yeah.
Okay.
So do you think you have a situation where you found yourself in a loving situation with lustful intentions, or in a lustful situation with loving intentions? Did I say that twice? Or did you ever find yourself in a lustful situation with loving intentions? I don't know what you know what I mean.
No. I get you. I think you said the same thing 3 times,
I
but
did.
um, yes. Woo. Maybe not. Wait. Oh, I really got to think about that. I feel like once I have seen the depth
Mm-hmm.
of someone, I think the lust goes away. I think the lust is deepened. Like, can lust actually be prolonged? Sure. Yeah, it could. It could. Sure. If you never, for me, if I never achieve the depth, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
if I'm never able to test out something, try something, experience something, adventure into something, whether it's an experience with somebody else, whether it is, and you could take this beyond people, but then there may continue to be a lust for it. Because it's like, I mean, it's also in things that I've been reading lately, but it's like desires have to be replaced with something deeper, right? You replace it with something deeper, or you replace it with something spiritual, or you replace it with some anchor.
Mm-hmm.
But human nature desires. Human nature needs sense gratification. It needs it. It needs it.
Okay.
Right? So I think the question for me, I only speak for myself, is then how can I replace that with something that is deeper, more sustainable, more fruitive to me and my journey?
How do you replace lust with
Correct.
something of more depth, of more depth?
Yeah. That's what I ask myself. And I tend to do that, right? I tend to do that. Because I have a lot of nature instincts, again, all of the Scorpio energy to redirect,
Hmm.
deepen.
I mean, I think it still kind of goes back to depth is not something that is impulsive, or it's not something that is instantaneous, you know? Like, I think to acquire depth about anything, whether it be nature, whether it be a person, whatever the interest is at hand,
Mm,
you need time. You need time. Like, only reason why you can lust after this person because the only thing you know about them instantaneously is their looks.
mm, mm,
That's the
mm.
first thing you learn about a person, like when you see
Yeah.
them. So it is the
Or their
lust.
energy.
Okay.
But yeah,
Energy, good
yeah,
energies from either familiar or welcoming energy.
yeah.
I can give you that for sure. Now, with that being said, are you in love or in lust with the energy that you feel from that person?
Probably lust, because how would you even know the holisticness of the energy? It's probably lust. You can lust over something even though it's a good thing.
I mean, listen, I think sex
I
is a
mean,
great thing,
yeah.
and
I was like, I know you go good.
yeah, like I don't, yeah.
Um,
You're preaching to the choir. I
okay, so
gotta.
if we preaching to the choir, let's get into the perspective shift. Okay.
That's
So
fair.
the perspective shift. What do we say to the people who say, hey, and I've heard this from some people who say, I'm okay with just doing my lustful thing. Like, I don't need love right now. I don't need love. Not looking for it. I'm in the lust zone.
Just because they're not
is that a valid argument?
yeah, because they're still looking for love. They're just not looking for love with other people. They're getting back to loving themselves. When you find yourself in a relationship, you are learning a whole new being. You're learning a whole new lifestyle, and you built so much with this person that when it gets time to where if a rift is caused between the two parties and y'all break up, you now find yourself, well, not find yourself. Technically, yes, but not really. You're now greeted with this new person that you are. You are now a person who is no longer affiliated with the person that you were dating or you were married to, whatever kind of commitment that you had with them. So now you have to rediscover who you are again, because you loved who you are with that person, because that's what you've known for the X amount of previous time. Now that you're single again, notice I said single and not alone. Now that you're single again, you find yourself getting, like I said, you found who you are, but now you got to love on yourself again. And you've acquired so much knowledge in that relationship. You're never going to be the same person that you were before the relationship than when you are out of it. It's just like when you it's a course. When you're dating someone, it is technically a course. You're learning about this person. Then you learn about this person. How do you apply what you know about this person to this thing you call a relationship that you're building? So when you're doing all these things, there are certain things there's certain effort and time that you apply towards yourself that you no longer can do, because there's only 24 hours in a day. So the times where you used to have self-care days, you might still have self-care days, but maybe not just as much as you did, because you have to make time for this relationship. Or there were times where you like to be at home by yourself. You probably had a few moments where you were by yourself, but depending on the depth of that relationship, you might not have had often. So there wasn't time that you had with your thoughts. So now you have to get reacclimated to doing that again. So when people are like, hey, I'm not really looking for anything serious right now, because they're seriously taking themselves serious. They're taking themselves seriously. And which is, I think it's a great thing for people to know. Like, hey, I just got a relationship. I'm not ready to be in one. If someone tells you that, whether it's the truth or not, thank them, because that is someone who said, hey, I am not in a place where I can move forward to get to know another person, because I'm still working on
basic principles of self.
Yeah. I just got out of a course. I just got out of that. And it was a long ass course.
Right. Where is summer break? Yeah.
Right. Exactly. This is my winter break. Let me get through the snow. Let me get through Christmas. Let me get through New Year's. Let me get through this. And then maybe at the top of the year, in the second week of January, I might be back out there ready to take courses. But for right now, I'm on break.
Come on break. You brought up something fantastic, which is, you said people are still looking for love. So my question to you, Brody, is how does one actually transform lust into love? What is the process, right? If somebody's looking for love, which is another perspective shift we hear, right? I'm looking for love. Will I ever find it? Right? People say that all the time. How does one go about transforming lust into love?
I think people view love and lust as though they're like the same thing, except one is like either amped or lowered, or you caught it on a certain day. When in reality, I think of lust and love as two different things. And you're not necessarily changing lust into love. You are now prioritizing love over lust. That's what I would like to, that's how I see it. You're now prioritizing love over lust. Because like I said, you can only go off of what you know. And when you first meet someone, the only thing you know is if you read energies, their energy and how they look. And if their looks is what turns you on, is what gravitates you towards them, that's lust.
Yeah.
But because you give yourself time to put in depth into this relationship that you want to build, during that time of depth, or during that time of building up this depth, love was way, way, way down there, way, way, way down there, way in the back. But as you get to know someone, you get to inquire about them, love creeps up because there's things you're learning about them. When you learn those things about them, it's like, oh, I can't wait to do that for them. Oh, they like to go here. Oh, I can't wait to take to that place. Oh, what? Oh, they like this kind of nail polish. Oh, I can't wait to buy that for them. And then next thing you know, your lust is no longer as strong as your love because these two are changing. Now, don't get me wrong. You can still have so much lust for somebody, but it's not such an urgent priority because you've added other things. You've added depth to this relationship.
And you've added intention. Brody, you bringing up some fire. You've added intention. The intention is now, hey, I want to expand on this feeling. I want to like you said, I want to see this quality that I only knew a minute nuance of thrive. I want to see it expand. I want to help it expand. I want to be a part of that journey. You know, it's like it becomes a love of life. It becomes a love of spirit. It becomes a love of soul. It doesn't become just the desire of a quality.
Right. And sorry, you brought up a great thing because I always tell people I try to make sure that everything I talk about makes sense and can all coexist. So 2 things you brought up that I love. You know, I'm a big believer that people should move with intentions and not expectations. So the fact you brought that up, thank you. The second thing that you brought up, damn. What am I? It's like you just said it and it was on
thriving, expanding,
expansion. Because I always talked about being how if you look at a relationship from a business perspective, when two separate entities come together to build a business, they're doing this because they want to expand. So in order for love to happen, expansion has to occur. Expansion is going to occur when love becomes a priority.
I can't wait for Brody's book, everybody. Just to let you know, Brody is the future author of a best-selling help guide called The Business of Love. It's going to be in stores everywhere. And I can't wait. I already have a pre-order in. Definitely get your pre-orders in because The Business of Love is going to be great. Just showing the analogies between business, building a business, running out of money, depositing into your bank account, and how that relates to the process and the journey of loving yourself and loving others. My goodness. On that note, we're going to take people to a little Zodiac appointment. Okay.
Please.
So, when we think of lust versus love, all right, I want to highlight 2 things that you might find in your charts, okay? Because this is mainly for the question of people saying, wow, well, how do I experience love? And do I show actions of lust? Okay, boom. First of all, let me talk about Venus, okay? So if Venus is in your chart, well, of course, Venus has a placement in everybody's chart. Depending on where Venus is the planetary energy that represents how you actually experience and go about your love relationships. So for example, my Venus is in Scorpio. Everything's in Scorpio for me. But what that says is that, hey, the way that I experience and navigate love is going to be very much in depth. There is going to be a slight bit of detachment because Scorpios are very good at transformation. So if something is not healthy for me, it doesn't take a lot for me to let it go and be like, oh yeah, I'm no longer attached to that thing. So that's Venus in Scorpio. Now, Venus also is the planetary ruler of, let's say, Gemini, right? So if your Venus is in Gemini, then oh, sorry, what? Let me not butcher that.
Come on now.
Mercury is the ruler of Gemini. Whoops. But if your Venus is in Gemini, then 9 times out of 10, you probably experience love on somewhat of a surface relationship. You might keep things on the surface, but that might be your version of love. And how you actually get to know somebody as you go on adventures. You might not have in-depth conversations, but you still grow to love some person with that. So check out your Venus placement. And then I will also say your moon. So the moon is one of the big 3. You have your rising, your sun, and your moon. Your moon basically represents your desires, right? So if you have your desires and your wants, so check out your moon, right? And that will 9 times out of 10 say what you might be lusting after. Again, if you have a moon in Scorpio, good luck. If you have a moon in Leo, right, you're probably going to be lusting after things that feel adventurous to you. And things that are like, wow, I wonder what that's like. And you just want to experience it. And sometimes for Leo, Leo moon, 9 times out of 10 is probably going to relate to sex. So you probably will have to rein that in a lot of aspects. And then I'll pick one more. Like, let's say you have a moon placement in, I don't know, Pisces, right? If you have a Pisces moon, then you're really gonna want to just like imagine things, right? Your imagination is super high, so you might have some issues with some lust because you're imagining things that aren't necessarily true in reality. So your brain can go so many different places. So just some things to keep aware of. If you're curious about your moon placement, your Venus placement, and have some questions, just definitely DM us, send us an email, opencanvaslive@gmail.com. That's the Zodiac appointment. Any questions on that, Brody?
I mean, you broke that down pretty well. I am going to have to look into where Venus falls for myself. And don't have questions now, but probably when I do that, I probably will.
All right. Boom, boom, boom.
Thank you,
So
sir.
let's go over to the relationship corner. Led by Mr. Brody. So the question for the relationship corner today is, how does lust show up in relationships? So to also rephrase that question, does lust show up in committed relationships?
Oh, wordplay is very important because you said, does lust show up in committed relationships? Depends on what the parties agreed what the relationship commitment was. And I say that to say, because and I said this because there could be someone in a relationship, I'm pretty certain they could probably love each other and they probably cohabitate with each other, all those things. But the lust could be completely gone. It could be completely gone. Or if it is present, it could be redirected to something else. So how does lust show up in a relationship? So depending on the status of the relationship, if it is a conducive, thriving relationship, I mean, lust can be, again, it depends on how the couple prioritize lust. If this is a couple that are very sexual, and if it's still conducive, I think it is clear that both parties prioritize intercourse. So because that is a priority to both parties, or at least they agree to that being a priority, then that is something that will show up probably pretty often. Now again, and lust doesn't necessarily have to mean sex. Lust can mean I'm addicted to spending time with someone.
Yeah. And sex doesn't have to mean lust.
No, I mean, oh God. I hate to think of sex as a chore, but I've heard people speak about sex as a chore.
I've heard that too. Yep.
And yowzers, it hurts. In situations like that, when you find yourself in a relationship where you're doing things that would seem to be initiated or ignited by lust, but the lust is gone, then that shows me they either one or both members of the party have not prioritized lust anymore. Like lust has become pushed so far back due to depth that like it's no longer top of their list. You know, you ever find I've had friends who have what they call a life partner, love spending time with that person, enjoy everything about that person. Sex is not something that's a priority on their list. Now, do I feel like lust is still present? Sure. They probably lust for the time that they hang out with that person. They probably lust when they do other activities with that person.
Yeah.
Now, in the same breath, I've also met couples who have sex all the time, but there's no lust there. It's
True.
literally just something that they do because A, that's what they're used to doing. B, they feel like it's obligatory, which that is yikes. I mean, really, that's the only two I can think of at the moment. Like, either they think it's obligatory or it's just something they used to do before, and so they just keep doing it. It's just something that's it's just mindless to them. Like, this is what we do. We come here and we do the damn thing. You sound like you have something to say. What's up, bud?
I do, because what you're saying, all of that is beautiful. What you're saying, and it got me thinking about. It's got me thinking about the side effects of lust. I think lust has side effects. Like whenever we desire something so much, and there's a fine line, right? You bring up the example of somebody could be having sex all the time and it's lustful. Somebody having sex all the time and lust isn't there.
Right.
There's a fine line. If it is lustful, meaning like there is a craving for it, right? Like you have some relationships where somebody is out of town for one day and it's like, oh, where is this thing that I'm so used to that I need in my life to literally live? To live. It's not true, but that's what they feel. So I think that's why it's important to, because again, right, we approach all of these topics from a standpoint of mental health as well. It is important to recognize how we lust, because we all do. Let's go ahead and put it point in blank. We all do. It's important to recognize how we lust, whether it's in relationships, whether it's in seeing people on the street, whether it is even in friendship, whatever it is, recognize how we lust so that we can better clear our mind up from side effects when that thing cannot be had. Oftentimes, the things we lust after, we cannot readily obtain and consume and get. So what do we then do? Again, how do we then shift that and transform it, which we answered earlier? So I just wanted to point out that there are some side effects of lust.
I'm glad you brought up side effects, because one of the things I wanted to talk about was if there are side effects, like let's just say if you find yourself in a relationship with someone and you feel like the lust is overpowering the love, or you feel like, let's just say Yeah, if the lust is overpowering the love, then this relationship, were you in a relationship with the person or the activity? Because one or the other will determine where you prioritize love and lust. You know? Because if you're in love with the activity, then everything in your mind it's good. We're doing the thing. Obviously, if it's consensual, it's great. So they're not speaking up. There's no qualms. It's awesome. Sex is great. I'm just using sex as an example. It doesn't necessarily have to be sex. Sex is great. However, though that person who might be in love with the activity is feeling satisfied, is that the same thing for the other partner? It could be. It could be two people who are mutually in love with sex, and they do this because they love sex so much.
Yeah.
However, that's why I said communication is important, because as I said before, there are some times that people find themselves bringing love into lustful situations. And that's a time where someone could be bringing themselves into a lustful situation where, yeah, this person is in love with the activity of sex, but you're only present due to their lust.
It's got me thinking back to past experiences.
It's so sad.
Yeah.
I can already tell my past experiences if they were love or lust.
Clearly, like that.
Yeah.
Like that. And it's sad. I think what is making me sad is not that those situations played out like that, but what makes me sad is that, you know how sometimes there are clear red, yellow flags where it's like, you only in this because of the activity we doing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but if we stop that activity, your whole mood changes. Like, that is yeah. But sometimes we keep things going because it's like, oh, let me just do the activity and then things will be fine and we'll keep on moving in. Yeah.
This is why it's so important for both parties to be accountable for their actions and however anything dissolves. Like, it is really important. And I always tell myself, after I find myself out of a situation with anyone, what could I have done better? Because at the end of the day, I can only control me. What could I have done better to not find myself in a situation like this again? Or what were my faults at? And these are things that you have to ask yourself, because again, if you are trying to make yourself a better person, you're trying to get to know yourself better, because as single individuals, you still have yourself, and we are still growing and we're still learning.
Yeah.
So you have to know, when you find yourself out of any kind of situationship, whether it be monogamous relationship, poly, whatever it may be, you still have to check in with yourself when you find yourself out of that situation, because again, you just finished a course. How are you feeling? Are you even ready for the next course? Because the next course is you have the knowledge of what you learned in the last course. This is part whatever.
Yeah, why are you repeating the same course?
Because sometimes people don't get the message in the first course. If you ever that's why I always tell people, when you ever find yourself in a situation where it seems like you're on a loop, it's because every time that lesson comes back around, you did not catch it and you did not learn it from it. So of course you're going to keep finding yourself in that same loop. Just like we hear people that date a toxic type of person, and that's because clearly they have not learned enough and evolved from the mistakes that they've made before. So if you don't evolve, you're going to find yourself in the same revolution that you were in this whole goddamn time.
Gotta evolve. Gotta learn from your mistakes. Yeah,
you have to. So that's why it's whenever you find yourself in a situation where it ends, I try to think about it like this: we are both humans. We're both trying to navigate and find love in this world, or find our partner to build something with. So if I do something, or if I step in a way that wasn't conducive for the relationship and it caused it to break, I hope that person would know that if we both agreed that that was my initial intention to be in a relationship, I hope that person knows that my misstep, it was what it was. It was a misstep. I'm still learning. I'm still growing. I do apologize if it caused any harm or hurt or pain. And I would like them to think that I realize what I've done wrong in the situation. I do plan to grow from this. Now, does that growth mean I necessarily need them to take me back? Not necessarily. It just means that I've learned from that course, and I barely passed.
Yeah,
but I passed.
I
I passed, and I think I'm gonna take this time before the next course starts to reflect on how I can do better for the next one. Instead of just getting a barely passing D, let me get an A in this motherfucker, or maybe an A minus, you know? So, God, what was the initial question?
No, that's powerful. You answered everything. That's powerful. Like, you know, what you're bringing up is a nice full circle in this whole conversation, which is sometimes the least and the most that we can do is to learn from our previous experiences.
Yes.
I mean, that goes so far, just to recognize, right? I keep hearing this word that we're coming back to, is recognizing what we are doing, the role that we play, and the role and intentions of other people as well. So, yeah.
Can I drop one
Please,
little gem? Please. A lot of it, and I'm not saying that this is going to like solve world hunger or anything. It's not, but I will say it's very helpful. One thing I realized for me to help navigating this world, it is very helpful to, whenever anything happens the way that it does, to acknowledge, to have accountability, hold yourself accountable, and just to acknowledge everything that you do. Because I think sometimes when stuff goes awry, it's always quick to put the fault on the other person, or it's always like, well, you did this and it drove me to do this, and it's like, if that was the case, then your priorities or your focus on the relationship was no longer focused on the relationship. If you're focused on a relationship, whenever you find yourself in a situation, like let's just say a partner did cheat and you find out that they cheated.
Sure.
You have time. If not, give yourself time to ask this question. My actions moving forward, what do I want them to do? Do I want them to be towards salvaging this relationship or retaliation?
Sure.
We always have those options. We always go with a lot of us go with retaliation before we think about what is conducive for the relationship. Sleeping around with somebody because you found out that your partner cheated is not conducive to the relationship. That's just brewing more toxicity and bringing more innocent bystanders into something that is to help clean up or to help you with a mess that wasn't their responsibility. It's the responsibility between you and the partner. And if you are the person that made the mess, it is your fault. It is your job to clean up that mess. It is your job to clean up that mess. And, you know, to check in with your partner to see if they want to decide to continue expanding. So.
And this is the last thing I'll say. It's like you said, there's always a choice. And thankfully, I learned this a long time ago. But like, if somebody does me wrong, brings me to pain, oftentimes I am able to, yes, feel the pain, but also quickly go into like, okay, from the outside looking in, right? People will be people. But what can I do to learn from it? A. And B, like you said, what do I want my actions to be in response, right? Am I about to fight the fight and, you know, go down swinging? Am I going to take this as that this is who this person is, and finally realize the yellow and red flags that I was seeing all along, you know? So it's like, there are always options. So no, I appreciate you bringing that up.
Yeah, absolutely. When you said that, like, how do I move, or like, how do I trust, or basically, you know, what you were wrapping up in summation just now, so much of that reminded me of the conversation that we had about the trust tier, which we don't have time to discuss. I can't remember which episode I talked about that. I want to say it was, I don't know. Just go on any audio platform and see if you can figure it out. I want to say it might have been sexual compatibility, but we talked about a lot of stuff on sexual compatibility.
For sure.
But to answer that question, or I guess not to answer it, but I guess to piggyback on what you're saying, having a trust tier definitely helped me put things into perspective. A lot of times I think we don't give our senses enough credit. I think sometimes we go with feeling, and we just ignore all the senses. Like, and what I mean by I say intuition, and we ignore the senses. Because sometimes people in so many ways will show you who they are, but because it's not showing us what we want to see, we ignore what we need to see. We ignore what we need to see. So put people on a trust tier. Let people show you who they are. I mean, Maya Angelou said it best. But, like, you know, literally have people show you who they are. Not only show you who they are, but also let them show you what they can and cannot handle. Because there are some people who do love you. There are people who want to be in your circle.
Yeah.
But sometimes, just like how your body, the muscle, it gets stronger when you use it often. Not everyone and I don't say this to belittle anyone, but not everyone has the capacity to carry on what you're trying to give them all the time.
Yeah. And the quote that Brody is talking about, Maya Angelou, is when somebody shows you who they are, believe them. Is that
Yes,
what it
sir.
is?
Yes, sir.
And I will expand on that and say, if somebody shows somebody else who they are, believe them. Sometimes it's not always directed to you, and that goes into the ignoring that you're talking about. It's like, oh, it ain't happened to me. They didn't do that to me. So that ain't who they are. That ain't who. No. Somebody shows you their colors.
That always trips me out when I see, when there's always like a couple, and let's say one of the people are cheating with someone else, then that person find out that their partner is cheating and they break up, and then now this person who was doing the cheating is now in a relationship with the person that they were cheating with. I'm like, so you really trust them after they just deceived their partner to be with you? What makes you think that they're going to be loyal to you? I mean, granted, you and that person are not the same.
Yeah.
But this person is, and they showed you how they interact in a relationship, in a monogamous, in a faithful relationship. So if that's how they operate with them, with a relationship that had all those standards on it, what makes you think the relationship that's going to have those same standards going to turn out different?
Well, on that note, y'all, we are coming up on time.
We are.
But look, we appreciate all of the listeners in here. We appreciate this conversation, for bringing this topic to life. A lot of good nuggets. If you missed out, definitely run this back and catch it on a rerun. Always want to let you know that you can listen to more of our hot topics and discussions on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever people are streaming audio and podcasts. Just check out Open Canvas Lives. That's Open Canvas and Live, 3 separate words. And other than that, if you want to get in contact with us, because I don't know, you wanted to say something but couldn't feel the courage to say it online, but you have a question. You have a question about your relationship, your dating life, your zodiac chart, the topics that we're discussing, whatever it may be, or maybe a topic we're not discussing. Know that we are here to tackle those questions and help you talk through your journey and how it can lead to some healing. So send us an email or a DM with your it could be anonymous. You can send us an anonymous color. Say, hey, this is from Pink, bloom, bloom, bloom. You can send it to us like that. You don't need to reveal yourself. And we would love to hear from you.
Yes. I think we did get one the other day. I got to look at those emails. First of all, let me just say, I was not expecting. I mean, I never know what to expect for our episodes,
For sure.
for our conversations, but I was not expecting for lots of things. To learn about how lust and love may be perceived as someone depending on their zodiac sign. Was not expecting to drop as a lot of that stuff that there was a lot of stuff that I dropped, but honestly, some of it, I do feel like at some points I am utilized as a vessel, and like honestly, some of those things I was like, "Ooh, okay, word."
That's what we. Yeah.
Yes. So there's some things that I'm personally going to go back and listen to this episode and just kind of see what notes I need to take for myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. I really like this.
Yeah.
So thank you for all that was listening in today. And again, send us whatever inquiries that you may have to opencanvaslive@gmail.com. As far as that goes, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but we have now we are doing an episode once every other week instead of every week. And in the times that we are releasing other content. If you haven't followed us on TikTok, you can see our post that we do weekly, or not weekly, bi-weekly, sorry. Which is we do Wonderful Words of Wisdom Wednesdays. That's the one that I do. And then our Zodiac specialist, C-Lane, does Zodiac Sundays, where he enlightens us about astrology and letting us know, hey, if you a Cancer sun and you playing in the sun, be careful on July 18th because you might get cooked. Whatever. I don't know what it might be.
Yeah,
because I am not the Zodiac, but you know who is? He is. So tune in on Sundays and check that out. Thank y'all again so much for another awesome night of conversation. We painted this canvas quite beautifully. The next one will probably be, what is this week?
One of those weeks.
2 weeks from now, whatever it is. Y'all can count. Y'all got calendars. But again, thank y'all so much for tonight. We're going to go ahead and let y'all go. Can't wait to see y'all in the next episode. But in the meantime, in between time, y'all please be safe.
Come on.
Sane.
And what else?
Sanitize.